Hello everybody, my name of course is Kashy and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be giving you 3 general tips for every single competitive map in Krunker. Don't forget to use code Kashy when buying KR or buying G Fuel. Don't forget I stream almost every single day on Twitch, and without wasting any more time, let's get into the tips. Starting with Burg. Okay, so for the first tip I'm going to be giving you, it's going to be for the 4th point here on Burg. A common spot for holding the 4th objective on Burg is right here behind these boxes so that they can have this angle here. But because Krunker hitboxes are so wide, if you actually come to this box here and find the perfect angle by just jumping on top, you can actually shoot through the wooden piece and deal damage to the enemy sitting in that spot. This could be useful when you're waiting for your team before pushing the objective, so you can try and get a kill or even some damage through the wall bang. Playing off that elimination and then having your team push in would be huge. Okay, so for the B objective here, a common spot is going to be sitting on top of this box right here and holding these angles. You'll commonly see people have 2 stack here, 2 stack here. What I like to do on these objectives is play the off angles, especially on B Burg. This corner is really strong for holding people off, and so is this wooden piece up here. A huge potential play you could make on this is hopping through here, landing on top of this scaffolding, and then possibly wiping the team out. Okay, the final tip for Burg is scroll wheel jumping. In total, there are over 8 or 9 ramps in Burg. Now, you can actually use these ramps if you scroll wheel jump to get enormous amounts of speed. I've played against Thorgrim on LMG using this against me, and I actually couldn't do anything against him. It's actually really difficult to get the hang of scroll wheel jumping because it breaks your muscle memory that you've built up the entire time you've ever played Krunker. And you can just equip it as a secondary bind. You don't have to unbind your spacebar. Okay, I've got a little bit of speed. Let's see if I can hit a ramp. Okay, as you can tell, I'm not the movement god, but Thorgrim can do it better than I can. It can be useful to catch your opponents off guard. Now let's talk about Sandstorm. Okay, coming into Sandstorm, I'm starting off with the most obvious thing. If you're using a class that can wall jump like SMG, then you can get on top of these walls up here. That's really good for catching the enemies by surprise. You can also use these walls here and play on top of these, as well as using these pillars to get on top of these walls. You can sit on top of most of these walls on new Sandstorm, so make sure you're utilizing the walls. So a tip for C point. Krunker spawn points are pretty broken. It is very common that an enemy may spawn here, even though you have teammates on the objective or outside of the objective. This is caused because there's a barrier between the player and the enemy spawn point. For example, this pole right here, if that's in the way to the point where I can't actually see the spawn point here, then technically an enemy could be able to spawn there if there's nowhere else on the map for them to spawn. You have to pay attention to spawns. For example, if you know that your teammates are still on the old objective, maybe one of your teammates is up and long, then you know that if you sit here, the enemies might spawn here and you can get a free pick or 2, or to be aware that they may have already spawned, so be careful when you're pushing this corner. Okay, the final thing I'm going to cover for Sandstorm C isn't this under push that I really like. I use that all the time, but it's actually this back box here on D. Pushing this objective with your team is very hard, and holding it is also very hard. This is a very flip-floppy point. Unlike Sandstorm C that tends to get held off for a long period of time, your team may get killed off this point very frequently. So a tactic that you can use is actually sitting in these back boxes here. You are completely hidden when you're sitting behind this box, so it gives your team time to rotate in, or you play the sneaky game and let the enemies creep onto the point, waiting patiently until you jump up for your 4K. Now let's talk about Undergrowth. This tunnel on Undergrowth, you can turn yourself invisible. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When using the SMG class or anything that can wall jump, you can actually clip through the ceiling if you jump and then spam shift. It's pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it. And what this will do is turn you invisible for a split second on the enemy screen. So yeah, you can clip through this ceiling, and when you're clipping through, you can use this to deal damage. Now, another tip for A objective here is pillar control, and this is something very important that I just want to touch on in this video. Now, an easy way to gain control of this objective without having your whole team jump onto the objective is, say you respawn here before all of your team, you can actually come around to pillar, and what this does is this will claim the spawn point for your team. So that means if you actually can push onto the objective and get a successful wipe on the enemies, any of your teammates that died will respawn here on pillar, and they can easily get back onto the site. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this objective. You always want to be aware of if you have a teammate or an enemy closer to pillar. Now there is a head glitch in this room. Can you spot it? It's right there. So you can actually just jump and crouch onto the edge of this wall right here, and you can get an absolutely disgusting head glitch. I only discovered this a few weeks ago when it was used against me in a competitive game, and I actually couldn't believe what I was seeing. Do you struggle to push the A point on Shipment? Well, let me show you a little trick. See this door right here? It's wooden. What that means is if you come around here, you can actually wallbang people through this doorway. And the cool thing about it is you can get as close up as you want to, so you can take almost any angle from here. Now, something cool that this new map brought into Krunker was the addition of this wall with a ladder, but you can actually get on top of this with SMG jump. Now, this is useful because the enemies will actually spawn over here and they'll be pushing from this area. So on the 4th objective, if you have this in control, you can actually hop up here and catch them by surprise because almost nobody's going to be expecting you to jump on top of this. Now, here's a general tip for Shipment. There is a lot of open area on this map. For example, this corner right here, this entire area here, like this is just complete open space. People just slide straight through this, or even this box right here. I say this because there's so much open space that's not utilized on this map that you can just use to your advantage to catch people by surprise that they're never going to expect you to be. So yeah, that's Shipment. Moving on to Industry. Okay, don't hate me, but I've got another wall jump glitch for you. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because you've probably seen enough of them in this video, but if you come into this corner right here, you can jump, you can wall jump and then spam shift and get completely through this ceiling. Now, a piece of advice for A objective here is to possibly play a teammate off of the objective on A. Nobody is really pushing in all the way here and then turning around and checking this corner, but you can play around this wall and use this to your advantage as well, and you have a box there. So playing off site on this objective is very strong. Now, another tip for the first objective is you can play almost any entry here. When spawning into Industry, it's very common that people will just run up to the ramp and go straight into the objective. But what you'll see a lot of aggressive players or sneaky players do is if spawning here, for example, instead of going to the objective, they'll come through here and you have a choice of going straight through and having your point of contact with the enemy there, or going around and catching them by surprise by coming through where they came from. So using flanks in the first objective is very, very vital to getting early score and early kills. All right, let's talk about lumber. Okay, I've got another one for you. If you come into this corner right here and you jump and spam shift, yes, I know, but wait for it, trust me. This one's a little bit tricky, actually, but if you get it just right, you may actually, but if you try hard enough, I think the key is to hit the left wall first. There it is. And yes, you can just catch your enemies by surprise by jumping straight through the floor or the ceiling. Now, I've got a 2-in-1 for you because I don't want to keep filling this video up with SMG wall jump glitches. If you come over to the C objective here, and I know there's many, many more on this map, but here's just one more for you. You can clip through this roof right here and shoot anybody on top of this objective and get any info if anybody's pushing here. Now, here's a tip for C on lumber. I would really strongly advise that you play a player back in this point here. Yeah, just don't underestimate this window is what I'm saying. Now, here's a little tip that my friend Drew Boy found for pushing D, the objective here. If you come into this corner, you can actually get on top of this wall right here. Now, here's a clip of Drew Boy doing it. There's actually 2 little ledges that you can get on top of here. There's a higher ledge and a little lower ledge. But you can essentially just use this to sit on top of the wall and get some free kills on top of the boxes. So yeah, enjoy the tips for lumber. Let's talk about sight. All right, this is one of my favorite tips in the entire video. I've been really excited to show you guys this for a while. So if you come into this corner on D objective, squeeze yourself into the corner, and I know it's another SMG jump, but this is my favorite one in the game. You can actually glitch through this platform and land on top. Bro, the amount of times I've caught people by surprise with this glitch is phenomenal. Usually what I like to do is peek out here, shoot the enemies. They'll see that I'm in this corner here. I'll then come into the corner, glitch through, they'll go underneath, I'll come through and poop all over their faces. Now, another tip for this map is getting to the B objective early is very crucial. Now, this objective is brutal. The lines of sight here are deadly. It's a one straight road to death. Even this angle is super long right here. And if you try and push through double doors, this is completely wall bangable. On top of that, now for the 4th objective, I want to talk a little bit about mid control. Even for the 3rd objective, it is very vital that when you're pushing or defending either of these objectives, that you have some sort of mid control where you have a player coming through, or if your team has 4th objective coming through down here and getting a TDM on anybody spawning down here trying to push through. Bear that in mind when you're playing sight. Don't be afraid to hop off the objective if you know your teammates have got it unlocked and get a little bit brazy with the mid control. Okay, the final map we're going to talk about today is Burg. Burg is an interesting map. Love it or hate it, it is a very good competitive map in my opinion. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you for this map is a very, very cool jump. This is called the Ats jump because it was invented by the one and only Atslord. He's only one of the best SMG players in all of EU. Now, by gaining just enough speed on top of these boxes here, you can actually find yourself landing on top of this wall. Now, this is extremely useful because 1, nobody's going to expect you to be up there. And 2, you can shoot through onto the 4th objective from it. Let's see if I can land it right here. Are you ready? Boom. If I land this, you have to drop a like on the video. This is the one. Boom, boom, boom. Yes! Okay, so as you can see, you can shoot through onto this objective here. That only took me 2 tries. Now, just like sight, it is very important because Bureau is a massive map that you push to the 3rd objective and the 4th objective early. 3rd objective is pretty easy to hold. Now, the final tip for this video is a little head glitch that Drew Boy and I found. If you come to the 1st objective here, hit crouch and jump, you can actually get a disgusting head glitch. So yeah, those are just a few tips for competitive. If you like this kind of content, then consider subscribing and leaving me a comment letting me know what you want me to make a video on next. Like this video so that I know you want more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. Consider watching another video here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.